You know, if there's one thing that pisses me off, it's people cheating in games. Just, what's the point? What's the point? What are you doing? What are you doing? And if there's one thing I happen to really enjoy, it's karma.
Fortnite, that big game that your nan's heard of, is a competitive experience built around multiplayer. Some people are more competitive than others, willing to win at whatever cost, up to and including cheating. Well, this week it emerged that one particular piece of cheat software for use in Fortnite had been downloaded 78,000 times. It promised players the chance to take out enemies with ease and precision via the use of an aimbot and offered free V-Bucks, the in-game currency. Well, plot twist, the cheat was actually installing malicious adware or malware onto users' PCs. Game streaming service Rainway discovered the attack. The company's boss Andrew Sampson wrote in a blog post that their engineers noticed a massive influx of error reports on June 26th and found that all the affected clients had played Fortnite. The company downloaded all kinds of cheating software to figure out which one caused the error reports using a filter before contacting the file host. The dodgy file has now been removed. The software apparently installed adware that could circumvent adblock and set up a man-in-the-middle attack which could be used to steal confidential information.
Sampson said that Fortnite developer Epic Games should spend time moderating and taking down YouTube videos that show off and promote cheats in the game. Here's some more of what he had to say. Quote, "While it should go without saying, I think you should not download random programs. Epic could do a better job at educating their users on these malicious programs and helping them understand how airtight Fortnite systems are at preventing cheating. Sometimes the allure of cheating is powerful and a strong presence is needed to help push people in the right direction." 78,000 downloads, that tells me two things: that Fortnite is really popular, and the second thing, that Fortnite players really, really like to cheat. That's a lot of people, that's a lot of downloads.
Yeah, 78,000 is a lot of cheaters. However, if you remember back in January, I think they banned 1 million cheaters from PUBG, just in January alone. So that is just like dwarfing the 78,000. 78,000 is a huge number, but 1 million, I mean, it surprises me that Fortnite doesn't get a lot more news like this because we hear it all the time in PUBG, but there's so many people playing Fortnite, it's surprising we don't hear more news, cheaters getting banned and that sort of stuff.
Well, this is from like unofficial channels as well. This isn't Epic Games. This is just some streaming company who noticed that a lot of its users had a lot of these, a lot of errors coming from Fortnite, and they found that was the common pattern. So this isn't Epic Games saying, "Oh, we've just banned 78,000 cheaters." They haven't been banned. There's just 70,000 cheaters out there, but they just also happen to have really malicious adware and malware on their computers, or malware. If you're thinking adware as well, like, oh, I've got ad block, I don't need to worry about that kind of thing. It was apparently very aggressive. Like, it would just get around anything that you had, and it was quite an aggressive little bugger. So that file's gone now. But if you're one of the 78,000 that downloaded it, then I suppose.
That's exactly what I was thinking about. Like that Nelson. Is it Nelson?
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
And in other news, Clash of Clans, that little free mobile game that's still really popular after, about 20 years, that game has made at least $4 billion. Clash of Clans launched on iOS in August 2012, but remains the top grossing game, making $4 billion on the Apple App Store alone. We don't know how much it's made on the Google Play Store. The data, which comes from App Annie, shows Clash of Clans to be the highest grossing iOS game in the last 8 years. The game is run by Supercell, a company owned by, you guessed it, Tencent. Tencent brings in the most cash of any single company on iOS, thanks in no small part to their game Honor of Kings and the recent launch of PUBG Mobile. But Supercell isn't that far behind.
$4 billion, and that's only half the picture. That's only on the Apple App Store. We don't know what the numbers are on the Google Play Store side of things, so this is only just half the equation, and it's huge. It's $4 billion. It's Clash of Clans. I know it's popular, but it's free. I mean, a lot of that must be coming from a tiny percentage of players as well, right? Because not everyone is putting money into that game, for sure.
It is a huge game, and it's been around for ages. I mean, a few years ago I used to play it. I didn't drop any money. I mean, I didn't contribute to that $4 billion at all, because I was playing on Android, and I didn't pay any money, but that's beside the point. It's a huge pool of money now sitting there in mobile games, and this is why big companies like EA want to jump into that pool with like their franchises like Command & Conquer that they announced at E3. They just want to be swimming like Scrooge McDuck, jumping into his big pool. That's what EA sees, like all that money, $4 billion just on one thing. It's just too much. Stop buying the microtransactions in it. I guess each to their own.
But you say you played it, you probably reach a crossroads where you play it a lot, and you reach a point where you go, right, I either start putting money into this or I stop playing it.
Oh yeah, exactly.
You either go left or right, and then a lot of people just go, I'm actually going to start putting some money into this, and you just go further down the rabbit hole. And it's that competitiveness and the the leaderboards. That's what keeps pushing people.
To be fair, I did play it a lot, a lot, until I got to a point where it was just grindy. And like you said, you get to a point where you put money in to keep competitive, stay competitive, or you commit shitloads of time and don't get too much out of it, and that's where I dropped off. Obviously, not that many other people did the same.
And last up in the news, We Happy Few, a first-person, story-driven adventure that struggled to get classified in Australia, has finally been given the green light down under. The Australian Classification Board granted the British dystopian title an R18 rating on Tuesday. That was a reversal of the board's previous decision to refuse classification, which would have essentially banned the title from sale in Australia. The crux of the issue centred on the game's heavy drug use. We Happy Few was initially refused classification on the grounds that, quote, the game's drug use mechanism of making game progression less difficult constituted an incentive or reward for drug use. Well, after that decision, the classification board sought clarification about the in-game drug Joy from the game's publisher Gearbox, and the panel of 3 reviewing the case this week decided to unanimously award it an R18 rating with a fantasy violence and interactive drug use warning on the box. So how many times has this happened? Australia's kind of had a bit of a history with banning games or making sure the games were amended, changed. The famous ones like Left 4 Dead having to change the colour of blood to be green, so it's like zombie goo, that kind of thing. They only recently a few years ago, brought in the R18 rating to begin with, and the whole idea was that this kind of thing didn't happen, that you had that top tier rating, because before that they only had teenage, 15 or whatever. This kind of thing should be happening less frequently, but it still does happen, as this case shows. However, the big change this time for me is that it seems like Gearbox have been able to say, well, hang on a minute, this is what it is, this is what the case is, and then the classification board has gone, oh, okay, fair enough. It's not been a case of a classification board insisting that something change in the game, because you couldn't change it. You couldn't change the drug use. That's what the whole game is built around.
Yeah, and it's all about context. It's the drugs aren't good in the game. They don't give you a bonus. The fact that you're being oppressed and the whole society has been oppressed and they're being forced to take drugs in order to comply to the authorities or whatever. I think it's great for the gamers in Australia in general. I think it's fantastic. It feels like the ratings board in Australia are kind of starting to warm up to the idea that adults can actually make their own informed decision and can look after themselves. Imagine that.
So, have you ever cheated in a video game? What the hell is wrong with you? Let me know down in the comments. Remember to like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video. There should be another one right there which you can watch right now if you want, and a link to Patreon if you want to support the channel. Thank you for watching. See you next time.